In this video, I want to show you how you can collect an email inside Facebook Messenger using ManyChat and connect it to your email service provider to send them free ebook or connect them to a course or whatever you want to do. Okay, so what I'm going to select in this example is get response, but it's going to work the exact same whether you're using Aweber or MailChimp will be a little different because ManyChat will integrate directly with it, but Drip, whatever your email service provider is, this same steps are going to work pretty much identically. Okay, and I'm going to go through this like the not the super clean way because I can tell you I've done this many times, and every time that I try to set up something through Zapier, something doesn't work, right? And so I've got to troubleshoot it. So I'm going to go through that with you guys so you can kind of see some of the same steps that I go through every time. So because you're probably going to get stuck too, unless you're way smarter than me, which is probably likely. All right, so I'm going to call this get response test or just email. That's good enough. All right, so depending on wherever your flow is, I'm just going to create a new flow, but the concept is just going to be similar. So, hey, first name. This is an automated to give you your just some text there. All right, so now this next part, what you're going to have to do is get them to put in their email address, and what it's going to happen is you're going to save it to a custom field. And remember, the difference between a custom field and a tag is that you have determined the label. It's just that whether they have done an action determines if that tag is applied to them. A custom field means that a user has given you information, whether that's an email address or their phone number or their address or the number of houses they own or whatever that is, something that they give to you. Okay, so we're going to click this button here, user input, and it's a pro feature. So this is the text that you're going to say right before they see the user input field. So enter your email and we'll shoot the PDF right over. And now one thing to note, if they're on mobile, and I'm not sure if it's every single iOS, I know for me, I'm on Apple and it works. When somebody has a user field and their apply type is email, we'll get into this in a second, it will prompt the actual email address that I am logged in with. So if I'm on Facebook and I'm on my business account, it shows up charlie@chatbotsthatconvert.com, and all I have to do is press the button and my email is submitted. So that's going to happen to a lot of your users. So it's a great way to collect email. So what you could say is confirm or type your email below, and we'll shoot the PDF right over. Okay, so free keyboard input. I click the user input, and we're going to come over here, and you want to make sure that on the reply type you select email. Okay, now you just leave this as default, and then the skip button. We don't want them to be able to skip it, so I'm going to remove that. No skip button is what we want. We don't want them to be able to move forward unless they put their email in. If you want to change that, if you want to have an option, you could just have a skip button. And what will happen is you'll ask for an email address, and they'll type some sort of nonsense in or say no, and then it'll say, please enter a correct email address, because if it knows that it's not a valid email address, it's going to send that message, but it'll also add this skip button if they didn't enter it correctly. So this is where a little bit of the magic happens. Depending on how many campaigns you have, if you're just starting out, it doesn't matter. But if you want to have a custom field that's specific to this particular campaign, you may want to create a new custom field. For me, I just want this. I want the thing that's going to get response through Zapier to be this specific thing for this course. But for you, you could maybe just do email. But for me, I'm going to create a custom field called get response. And I already created one, so I'll create get response course. That means that it's for this course. This is fine. I usually don't mess with this. If you have multiple, if you have like a team of developers or something working on this, maybe then you would add a description, but I usually don't. Maybe it'll bite me later, but it hasn't so far. But you're going to keep it as text because you can't select email. It's a text. All right, so the next thing that's going to happen is, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can have Zapier perform an action here, but we're basically just going to skip that, and we're going to have Zapier look for whenever that input is updated, Zapier will trigger something. So we don't have to push it. Zapier will basically pull it, if that makes any sense. But basically what's going to happen is anytime somebody types something in, Zapier is going to fire, grab that information, and push it over to get response. Okay? So once this happens, say, great. Okay, take a look in your inbox for that PDF. I don't know, whatever. All right, so we're going to publish this. I'm going to go ahead and... So this is one thing to note. When you're previewing stuff like this, right now, there is not a single person... This is something I've learned from troubleshooting with Zapier. There's not a single person, if you created a new field like that has that field... has any values in that field. And Zapier is going to need somebody for this field to be populated in for it to kind of do a test. Okay, so if I were to try to do it in Zapier now, it's not going to work because there's nothing input in there. So you want to run through the test yourself so that you can put some information in so that it can pull it in and run the test and make sure that everything's working correctly. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and preview this. Yeah, preview this so that I can go through it and so that I can put some information into that field. See, you can see what I'm saying here. It's just confirm or type your email below. So I could click this button or type in a new email address, but I'm just going to click this button and it's going to automatically work. So now Zapier is not connected, but if I were to go to my audience and look at my particular name, it's going to see a custom field and it's going to have the contents of charlie@chatbots.convert.com. All right, so that part is done. Now let's jump over to Zapier. I'm going to sign in. I'm going to do new Zap. Now the first part is ManyChat. If this isn't showing up for you, search hundreds of apps and go to ManyChat. Now these steps are pretty important. You don't want to kind of divert from what I'm suggesting. You can if you know what you're doing, but you want to do new or updated custom field. So this triggers when you add or update a custom field. So when I just went through that flow a minute ago and I typed in an email, that was a new or updated custom field. Okay, so we're going to save and continue. If you haven't already connected your account, let's see what happens here. It should be fairly simple. So you would see all the accounts you're connected to, and you would click it and connect it. For whatever reason, it will just have multiple iterations of this. And I think that, I don't think for some reason this connection works, and I have to go to this connection below. Yeah, so test this one. I used this one very recently, so I'm going to select this one here. Okay. So the custom field, I'm going to go ahead and do refresh custom field. And so we just created a field called get response -course, right? Okay, it's showing up. I have had issues where I have had to wait 4 or 5 hours for ManyChat or for Zapier and ManyChat to connect. It's not supposed to happen like that, and I don't know why, but I've literally had to wait several hours for this field to even just appear. One thing that I found that speeds that up is if you keep adding new people to it so that there's new data. So that's something you can try to troubleshoot. I didn't spell that right, but that's fine. All right, so this is where it's picking up samples. So notice how before I said you want to make sure that you put some data in there so that it has something to play with. This is what it just picked up, okay? It's picking up my account that just went through, and so this is just old stuff, old emails that I was playing with, doing courses. So, all these kind of emails. We're looking for get response dash course, Charlie at chatbotsthatconvert.com. Boom, it worked. Okay, so I'm going to go to continue. Now you need to have something to happen, right? So I need to have. Well, now we need to connect this to Zapier, or to get response. So action step. I'm going to search or click get response. And I guess this one's. I have a premium account. You may need a premium account depending on what all you're doing. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So we want to create a contact and then add that contact to a list. Okay, so creates a contact. Let's test this. I haven't used this in a while. I think it's a new. I think I created like a brand new account because I was using it, then I didn't use it. Okay. Oh man, we're gonna have to do all this. Okay. All right. Let me pause this and find where to do that. All right. I found where to do the API key, and we have a visitor I want to show you guys. Murphy, say hey. This is Murphy, folks. He's a good boy. You tear stuff up there. You like to get into shoes, don't you? All right, we're back. I don't know where my camera's going to be, but this should work. All right, so Zapier was asking for. I need to connect my GetResponse account. Nothing's working. This didn't work, right? Yeah. So I need to connect an account, and it was asking for an API key. So for GetResponse, I came in here. I came over here to Settings, Integrations, and API. And then I click API. Oh, there's another guy, Tuck. There's Tuck and Murphy. These are my boys. Oh no! All right, sorry folks, we're getting off topic. I'm gonna try to finish this with these guys. All right, so it's asking for an API key. Generate API key. ManyChat. Doesn't matter. All right, let's paste this in. Man, that worked perfectly. Okay, so set up get response contact. This is where you're going to select the list that you want them to be added to. I only have one list because I'm just kind of demoing this. It's my initial list. So this is where you select the email address, and it's going to be from step 1. Okay. So it's from step 1. It's saying this is the contact information that we just pulled in. You want to make sure you go don't be tempted to click, what we just put in there. It's going to be, you may not have all these fields like I do. I've got tons of stuff in here. User custom fields get response course. Okay. Notice that it pops in that email address. If you're seeing an email address, then it's working. If you're seeing the name of a custom field, then it's not right. What it's doing is selecting the caption of the custom field. The name get response course is what's pulling it in. Okay. You could select to move them to a specific day in the autoresponder cycle. That's up to you. If you just have it blank or 0, then it'll just do it in the beginning, right? But if for some reason you wanted to speed them up, you could do that there. So name, this is just going to be, depending on how your list is set up, you can do first name, last name, or the full name. But let's just do name. I'm not going to do the IP address. You can add tags like they came from ManyChat or whatever your flow is, but that's up to you. You could go ahead and pull this in. I believe this is something that it captures. Let's see. I think that Facebook automatically captures this. No? Okay, I thought it did. You could ask for it, but all right. So there's a lot of stuff you can add in here depending on what you want, but that's all up to you. And if you wanted to grab all of this information, asking them in ManyChat, you can do that as well. All right, so we're going to continue though. So far, what we've grabbed is the list we want to put them on, the email, and their name. Okay. Connect. Now it's going to do a test here. So it worked. It says a test contact was sent to GetResponse in about, I don't know what that means. Maybe it was just the time. Oh yeah, that's what it was. 9 seconds ago. So now let's jump over here to contacts and see if that lead came in. So no, it hasn't. This is just me. So if I refresh it, oh, it's because it was just a test. It wasn't a real instance because the zap is off. Okay, that's right. All right, so we're gonna finish, and let's get this name. Get response course, and turn the zap on. I did. You just didn't save it. I don't think it's okay. So it did. All right. So what you can do with Zapier is you can test and see if things are actually working, because it'll give you what's called like a log view task history. So you can see there shouldn't be anything here because the one we just did was a test. It wasn't real. So this zap is on now. So remember up here it was new or updated custom field. So if I just change the email that I had before, it should still fire, right? It doesn't have to be a blank to new. So let's test this out. Let's go to ManyChat and let's preview this flow again. So if I click this button here, nothing's going to happen because it's just this. Well, I don't think anything will happen because it's not updated. It's still the same thing. But if I said, and I don't want to use Charlie and Walker because it's like an alias. All right, so now let's go to Zapier history, and we'll come back here to the dashboard. Or Zaps is what I meant to go to. So now let's see if it fired. View task history. So something happened, and it says success. So that is looking good. Sometimes if you're having trouble, you can figure out what happened by using the data in and data out. Some of the things that I have seen is lead already exists, meaning you're trying it on yourself and you're already in the system. So that's something to look out for. So you want to try it like maybe create a separate Facebook profile or add a different email address, that kind of thing. Like duplicate names like Charlie Walker, it may not like that. But now it looks like everything's working correctly. So let's come over here to this and see if we've got a new lead in here. So no, not yet. It's not working. So let's troubleshoot it. Because we were looking for Charlie Walker or Charles M. Walker with CW forward 17, right? All right, I'm going to pause this video and give it a minute and see if it just is a lag thing, because Zapier is saying that the data was in and it was sent and everything's working correctly. So it could just be just a timing thing. So I'm going to pause the video and see if that's what's up. Okay, so what happened was, I guess by default I had the double opt-in enabled. So I was just browsing my email while I was waiting for it to load, and I got an email from GetResponse saying confirm your email that you want to be opted into this thing. So that's what happened, and I refreshed it and it is working. So it looks like everything's set up correctly. Depending on your system, like if you want to add them to a list, you want to make sure you have an autoresponder set up based on that action. I'm not going to go through every single ESP, but you can kind of, I'm sure it's one of the most basic functions of an email service provider. But that's how you would set it up, guys. So this is obviously very powerful, because when you have them in Messenger and you have their email address, it can be very powerful to kind of have both of those functions, because there's different things. Like you could potentially send emails every day or every other day, but you don't really want to send them a messenger message every single day. You want to reserve that for like really high powered. You want to cut through and make sure they get the message, because if you're sending them a message on every single day that of like, hey, I got a new blog post, or hey, I got a new YouTube video, or hey, I'm doing this or that, it's going to get annoying because it's so direct. It's going to cut through. I'm looking at my phone because it's going to cut through everything and go straight to their phone. So you want to reserve Facebook Messenger messages for only when you really want them to get a message. So that's not as important, or it's not as critical in the very beginning because they're just getting to know you. If you're sending them really good content, it's maybe okay to send them a message like once a day, especially if you have like a 5-day challenge or something like that. But just note that it's great to have both of those as assets. So there you go, guys. That's how you set it up. I used GetResponse in this example. So MailChimp already has an integration with ManyChat, so you can skip Zapier, as does ActiveCampaign. But any of the other ones are going to work very, very similar to what I just did, where you're going to select, set up a new contact based on the updated custom field. So, all right, guys. Thank you all, and I'll see you all next time.